Hey everyone. All right. I thought I'd come on here and give you guys my game plan for the week ahead. We've got a fairly busy week this week. I'm hosting another trading summit at my office. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to be at my office trading with a group of other traders, and I'll be live broadcasting that on YouTube for the morning show. But I'll also be broadcasting earlier for Day Trade Dash and Warrior members over on our site. And then I'll be streaming through the late morning. We'll take a lunch break, and then we'll be doing afternoon streams in the Warrior Pro Mentor session, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We've got a bunch of topics that we're going to cover, so I think you guys will really enjoy it. It's going to be a fun week. So that is starting bright and early tomorrow, and that's going to actually end up being more time this week than just pure trading. Pure trading, as always, will be from 8 a.m. until 10 to 11 a.m. roughly. If we're seeing slow markets, then we'll start in with panel sessions and, just hearing from the other traders that I'll have with me this week, because I think for you guys, it gives you just an insight into the different strategies different traders have and the different ways they're getting through this market. So I thought I'd go over here for tonight a little bit of the game plan for a couple of stocks that I'll be looking at tomorrow, and answer questions that you guys may have. And I'll also give you guys a link for a 14-day trial for those on YouTube that haven't already done a 14-day trial. Those who do the 14-day pro preview trial will be able to watch the broadcasts Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. So you'd be able to come into the Warrior Pro Mentor room and watch the live feed that'll be from my office this week. All right, so I'll post that there. So last week, I think the theme right now has certainly been we've had some chop. And what's really interesting? This week, we saw a number of stocks that made big moves that had shelf registrations and then proceeded to do secondary offerings. So Tops is one of them here. This chart is kind of a mess. So Tops squeezes up over the last couple days from $2 to $6. Then here's the news, comes out, secondary offering priced at $2. So it almost feels like these stocks are being kind of like bid up for them to then just sell the secondary offering onto the market. And it's disappointing to see it, but it's also like totally not surprising at all, especially when these companies, and this was one of them, have a shelf registration. So it's like we know that this is probably going to happen, but in the interim, we don't know how much higher they're going to go. And so Tops, it ended up squeezing on Friday from $350 up to about $630, which was a pretty nice move. A couple weeks ago we had HUDI. HUDI, similarly, it started to squeeze up, and we're like, well, it's got a shelf registration, I don't know. And this thing ends up going all the way up to a high, which was crazy, of almost $200 a share. And then this was the day that the secondary offering was announced. So, if you were shorting this like really early on and you're like, oh, they're gonna sell more shares, I know they're gonna do it, you might very well have been right. You were right. But could you have afforded to hold through that move there from 60 to 160? No, probably not, right? So that's, of course, one of the frustrating things in the market is that you can have totally the right idea, whether it's long or short, but your timing is wrong. You're too early, you're a little too late. Well, I guess if you're too late, you probably don't have the right idea. But in any case, if you're too early, that's probably most likely, how you could have the right idea but time it wrong. You get in, for instance, I don't know, I could have seen myself on this one getting in on like this candle here and taking a loss. And, maybe on that candle being like, oh, I think it's going to rip through the high. And then sure enough, it does like an hour later. So right idea, wrong timing. And that happens, of course. And the only thing you can do with that is just sort of chalk it up as, well, I need to keep taking stabs at these. Sometimes they're going to have a couple false starts before they pull away. And on the other hand, sometimes what I can do is I can say, you know what, rather than jumping on every time it starts to pull away, I'm going to let it pull away and then wait for the first pullback. Now, it's true that sometimes you'll see these stocks that do pull away and their first pullback just fades. And that's when it looks like a pop and a drop. And you feel like, boy, if I had, the only opportunity there was to chase it. And if you didn't chase it, there was no trade to the long side. And so you feel like there's just not a lot of opportunity. And that's sometimes the case. But it's still better to wait for that first pullback than to chase it. There are markets that will reward chasing. A hot market, a very bullish market will reward chasing because stocks continue to go higher. But in the market that we've been in, what's been more consistent is that chasing does not pay off. And so I think that traders naturally are being a little bit more cautious about chasing some of these big moves that we've seen and instead waiting for clean pullbacks and things like that. And that has been frustrating for me because on some of these, like tops, you're not really getting a super clean pullback. Now, this one actually, this one did give us a pullback right here. But it went from 4 to 450 without a proper 5-minute pullback. So pretty nice 10% move. Then it finally pulls back, and then you got a good entry there. That was a decent trade. Let's see. So this one's actually given. You can see this one's been okay. You had a nice pullback right there. That was a couple days ago. You had a nice pullback right here, which was sort of surprising because this volume, the high volume red candle right there, and it still was able to rally higher up to 581. That was pretty good. I didn't think it would be able to do that on that after that big red candle, but it did. So yeah, there were a couple of trades on tops last week, but now tomorrow, because of the secondary offering, that's going to be no good. So someone's saying, Ross, I need more details on that Facebook message you sent. I didn't send a Facebook message. So there's people that take my profile picture, they send messages. They probably told you, or she or whoever it was, hey, send me some money, I'll invest it for you, or something like that. Those are scammers, and unfortunately they're very prevalent on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. They just take my pictures, make a pretend profile of me, and then start messaging people. So I will not DM you about a crypto opportunity, all right? So if you see that, you can be 100% sure that's not me. All right, so we had tops. That one gave us some good action. Let's see. I'm trying to remember some of the other ones that we had. This last week, it really was a little bit kind of hit or miss. We would have one stock that would squeeze up, but what we also struggled with a little bit was this dispersed momentum, where we would have one stock that would kind of squeeze up, and then when it would start to pull back, another stock would pop up, and then the first one would just fade, and then the second one goes up, and then when it starts to pull back, then another one pops up, and traders were just kind of jumping from stock to stock to stock to stock, and it didn't feel like we had a lot of conviction behind any of the moves. Some of them were a little bit better than others, like tops was okay, but I just didn't feel like we had any really, really clean moves, especially during the time of day that I usually trade. So it's still a little choppy. That requires patience. I'm finding it hard to be patient because, like anyone else, I want to be trading aggressively. I want to make some money, and it's been a slow couple of weeks, but, well, that's just how it is sometimes. The overall market has been interesting. We've had, we had some sell-off there and then a sort of pop back up. So this was some economic news that came out. I mean, the market sold off hard. The market is so dramatic right now. I mean, you have this economic news that comes out, or, it's just like these huge moves. So we're in a market where there's a lot of emotion, and, we're struggling. We're at a level right now, which is, I think pretty critical, this descending resistance level. You can see this yellow line, this trend line. It goes all the way back to the high back here in January. So this long, well-defined line, and right here we're kind of like right at it. All right. So a question there, how can we predict, because there was a big flush on tops. No, and that's exactly right. There was a really bad one. And unfortunately, when I see a stock do that, I lose faith in it. I feel like I can't trust it. You certainly had a pretty nasty sell-off at the open, right? That was there. You had a pretty big red candle here. So let's just mark out a couple of these big red candles. You had a big one there. You had a really big one there. Okay, so that was Friday. And then if we go back to Thursday, there were a couple of, look at these. You had right in there, a couple of really big red candles. And then this one was crazy. That false breakout right there, it goes up. It goes up to a high of 525 and then it drops to 445. It false halts down. It bounces. It curls back up a little bit. But unfortunately, it was that move right there where I was like, wow, I can't trust this stock. There's some shady stuff going on here. There was a 180,000 share seller at 508. And, as I looked at that, I was like, okay, well, this is weird. Where's that big seller coming from? Is that a short seller? And I was thinking, well, I don't know. I mean, it could be, but that's a lot of confidence on that short. And then I thought, well, could it be related to a possible secondary offering that's coming? And I thought, well, that seems very likely. Is it someone that's selling to take profit? And I was like, well, there's not, maybe, but really, unless you got into the very bottom, wasn't a lot of profit really to be had over the 2 days. And that was on, I think that was actually on, I guess it was on day 2. But in any case, and then it broke that level of 508. The seller got bought up. And then it was like someone hit a 200,000 share market order and it flushes, and it just all of a sudden what it did was it triggered a panic flush. And that can happen. A really big market order, 150,000 shares, 250, 350, 400,000 shares, marketable order that just sweeps the book. And all of a sudden, everyone who has stop orders are just getting taken out. And of course, the first order is the fastest, and then you have all the stops that then fire behind it. And so all of a sudden you see that, big sell-off. So, yeah, that really, for the rest of the day, Thursday and into Friday, I was like, I don't know about the stock. Something weird's going on with it. So tomorrow it's going to open pre-market at 4 a.m. It's going to open way, way down closer to $2 if I had to guess, because the offering's at 2. So I think it's too late to short it. I think if you thought you were going to make good money shorting it, you'd have to already have been short before this news event came out. And again, you would be right if you were swinging this to the short side. Of course, you could have been swinging it to the short side on Thursday and been short right here at 450 and then stopped out the next morning when it squeezes up to 630. And based on the price action we've seen on some of these, like an HUDI, I would be really nervous to hold any of these short, because you just never know when one of them the next day is all of a sudden going to be gapping higher, because there's someone out there that, and who knows who it is, but there's someone out there that is bidding it up, and next thing you know, shorts are getting forced to cover, and then you get that just crazy move like what we had on HUDI. The thing is, and I see this with a lot of short sellers, unfortunately, it's not totally different from long traders, but what I see with a lot of short sellers is they'll have, a good stretches of consistency, good green days, small red days, and then they'll have a loss that's like 20 or 30 times the regular red day. It's like, or regular green day even. It's just like a huge red day. And unfortunately, it's because when you get caught on the wrong side of these types of stocks and they're halting and they're skipping levels like this, they're just jumping higher. I mean, this basically went from $60 to $140 in about 15 minutes. There was not a lot of time to react, and there was not a lot of liquidity to react. Now, of course, more experienced short sellers start to learn the type of stocks to be really, really cautious on. This is certainly one of them. So traders who are short bias, who have been doing this for a super long time, most likely wouldn't be the type of people getting caught in something like this. So maybe their P&Ls do smooth out a little bit. But one of the other problems with these types of moves is that if you're short biased, the higher it goes, the more obvious it feels to short it. It's like only going to be a better short. And then, maybe you're right. Or maybe it all of a sudden rips back up to 180. Or maybe it does an HKD, which is truly unthinkable. I mean, this was, I've been trading for a long time, and this was at the time, and still is at this point, the biggest move I've ever seen. So this IPOs, just to kind of show you like how crazy these can be. So, I'll back that out. So this IPOs and squeezes up, kind of like HUDI. It's also a Chinese stock. Very similar price action to HUDI, which actually made me think that HUDI might have gone higher. But in any case, so this HKD, sells off and then squeezes up, sells off, squeezes up. It just kind of keeps moving higher, but huge candles. And then you had this consolidation here on this day where it goes from 60 all the way up to 80 right there. The next day, it goes up to over $160. Whoa. Okay, now up to almost 200. Then the next day, it flashes 275, and it's just not letting up. And it feels like it's only a better short up here, right? And so if people get stubborn, and then this right there, that was where some people got liquidated. That's where some people just got totally run over and smoked. And unfortunately, it's probably beginner short sellers, but maybe some experienced ones who got stubborn. And they were right. Look, eventually they were right. The stock's at $17 right now. But could you afford to hold from 400 to 900? And maybe you could. And then the next day it goes up to 2,600. It's crazy, right? I mean, that's just insane. So and these are the types of stocks that I will trade to the long side when I see these types of short squeezes, because I know how epic they can be. Now, this one was particularly crazy, but in any case, HUDI was sort of a lesser version of that, and we see these types of things on a somewhat regular basis to varying degrees. So yeah, what we saw on tops, even though I knew that there was a good chance that we were going to see this offering, I didn't know how much higher it would go before that news came out. So I kept trading it. So going into the new week, on Monday, I'll be trading in my office with a group of other traders. So there'll be 5 or 6 of us, maybe 7. I can't remember. Anyways, so we got a good group of traders. Well, I'll be there tomorrow. And my plan will basically be to try to figure out which one's going to be obvious. So I'll certainly be watching my scanners, which I watch as always, but I'll be watching my scanners closely. I'll be trying to see what's the direction, what's the obvious stock today. I think one of the advantages that I have in the market are the tools that I use. These scanners help me find stocks in real time. It's tools and community. Those are the two things, the scanners and the community, because the scanners help me find stocks that meet my criteria in a technical level. The community helps me sort of reinforce that I'm looking at the right stocks because people are giving me this feedback of, oh yeah, I like this, or oh no, Ross, that's a terrible setup. So I get that feedback there, and then I can also get a good gauge of sentiment in the market. What are people's bias? Are they long? Are they short? Are they bullish? Are they bearish? Is it exuberant? Is it excitement? Are a lot of people making money, or is it choppy? And the consensus that I've seen from the last month or so, I talked to a lot of traders, and a lot of traders did not have a great month of November. Some traders, a couple traders did okay, but most traders did not have, across the board, most traders did not do super, super well in November. So, that tells me that, and I was way below my monthly goal. I finished green, but I was way below my monthly goal. So I was like, okay, I'm not alone here. The right now the sentiment is a little colder, it's a little cooler. We're not seeing really huge moves. This is the time just to kind of get in, get green, get out. Get in, get green, get out. And so my goal right now is to be, my job every day when I'm sitting down is to manage risk. So I'm trying to focus on managing my risk, preserving my capital. I want to actively trade, but I don't want to overtrade poor quality setups. This is the time I'm going to throw really big size at anything. So I'm just going to stay light on my toes, catch a couple of trades here and there, and when we start to see things pulling away, or we start to see traders focus in on 1 or 2 stocks each day that are really strong, that's when I'm going to get more excited. I like it when sort of all the traders out there are really focused in on one or two stocks. When you have dispersed attention across 4, 5, 6, 7, it can be really hard to gauge which one's going to go. And you could say, oh, well, that's a time where you could short them. And you certainly could, but I struggle with that as well, because you might have 6 or 7 that fade, and then you have the 8 that just ends up going crazy. And you're like, oh my gosh. And, I have a hard time with that. And in any case, I'm not a short bias trader. So hey, and thanks for that optimism. I foresee a huge loss for us this week. I'm going to go ahead and ban you from the channel because you're being a dick. All right, so sorry, bud, you're out. Good luck. You can find somewhere else to trade. All right, so I foresee this being a week where I'm just going to manage my risk. I'm going to take it kind of slow. I don't see a lot, most likely, that's going to warrant me sizing up in a big way. My focus has continued to be trading with small size. When I scaled down in June, I brought my share size down to 10,000 share cap, and I just kind of was like, rolling on 10,000 shares. And I ended up having a good finish to June, great July, great August, had like a 45, 50-day hot streak, consecutive green days. And that hot streak ended, so to speak, by having a red day. I think it was in September. But for the most part, I've continued to keep my share size small, between 5,000 and 15,000 shares for most positions. I have a cap right now at 20, so I can go a little higher, but not too high. And for the most part, that I think has made sense. I did get a trade on tops with 15,000 shares on Friday. That was a good trade, but I just don't feel like being more aggressive. And part of that's also a liquidity issue, because last year, the year before, some of the stocks I was trading would have like 40, 50 million shares of volume in one day, and I could get in and out with 30, 40, 50,000 shares, like no big deal. And I'm telling you, if you tried to get in and out of something like HUDI with 30 or 40,000 shares, oh my gosh. I mean, you would sweep the book with your orders. You would get so much slippage, you would just get crushed. I mean, I can't even, it's hard to guess how much you could lose just on the slippage. And so that's the problem in a cold market, is that in a cold market, let's say you want to take 30,000 shares. You want to buy you decide to buy on the ask. Well, you're probably going to get filled with 5 to 10 cents of slippage. So you're going to get in 10 cents above the ask. And then in a thin market, a lighter volume market, you're going to have bigger spreads anyways. Maybe it's a 15-cent spread. So it's a 15-cent spread, and you're getting in with 10 cents of slippage above the ask. And then when you go to sell, if you hit the bid, you're getting 10 cents of slippage against the bid. So you're losing 20 cents of slippage plus a 15-cent spread. You're losing 35 cents. It's like $9,000 on a 30,000 share position. And that's just between the spread and the slippage. So this is the very real problem that traders like me have, who like to size up, is that we need liquidity in the market. We need to be able to buy up a bigger position. And we haven't had as much of that. And when attention's been dispersed across many different stocks, it's made it naturally more difficult to size up, because there's not as much volume on just one specific stock. So in any case, and yeah, Mark, I for sure will scale in. If I want to scale up to 20,000 shares, I'll do it in 4 orders of 5. I'll definitely scale in, or maybe I'll do 6 orders of 3,000 and kind of scale up that way up to 25,000. But having said that, in a hot market, I could market in 15,000, 20,000 shares with no slippage. Oh, very little slippage. Not no slippage, but very little, because there was just that much more volume. So more volume means more liquid market, tighter spreads, and it didn't in 2020 and 2021 mean less volatility. Sometimes more volume means the stock is becoming crowded, and you are seeing less volatility. And I guess that whether more volume means more volatile or less volatile is just going to be a function of the market that you're in. If sentiment is strong, then more volume is going to most likely be imbalanced to the buy side. Whereas in a colder market, more volume can also just mean more people shorting, more people buying, and it just becomes congested. And then you have this sort of tightening down, which is, less volatile, and so that's not as good. So the volume is sort of a funny thing because we certainly need volume, but we really need volatility. I suppose I'd rather have volatility with light volume than just a ton of volume but no volatility, because we need stocks moving. So, beggars can't be choosers. But in any case, we'll see what we get this week. I don't really set expectations like particularly. I mean, we'll just get what we get. If there's some great opportunities, then I'll have a great week. If there's not a lot, then it'll be a slow week, and that's fine. So I don't know. Anyways, just giving you my game plan for the week ahead. Wasn't super happy to see the secondary offering news on tops, but it didn't surprise me either. Didn't really think we were going to get another day of action on it. I was kind of ready for that one to be done. It was just I found it to be sort of not trustworthy from the beginning. So, that's fine. That was that. AVXL, this is another one of those ones that basically went straight up on the 5 minute, straight up, comes down. You never get a clean 5 minute pullback. It just goes straight up and then just right back down. So, I don't know. I don't like seeing that. It's that stuff is harder to trade. And what happened is this started pulling back. Well, then focus shifted and people were focusing on different stocks. So traders are being very fickle right now. They're kind of jumping from stock to stock very quickly. And that's definitely made it a little bit more challenging. And I know there's some traders out there that, try their hand at day trading Tesla every day or AMD, because some of these stocks have enough volume that you can trade them. But, I mean, just, again, volume is not enough. You need volatility, but you also need a certain degree of predictability. And if you don't have that predictability, then you're going to have a problem. You do have some descending resistance on this, kind of like in this area, maybe like in here. But in any case, I'm not going to trade Tesla. So that's just what I'm looking at. And I did put a link for a 14-day trial that you guys could check out. I'll put that again here on YouTube. 14-day trial. This is for people who haven't already done the 14-day trial at Warrior Trading. That'll give you the chance this week, if you want, to trade with me in the chat room. So you'll be able to load up Daytrade Dash software. This is the same software used by Warrior. So Warrior licenses it from Daytrade Dash. Daytrade Dash, you could subscribe there just for the chat room and scanners, but it doesn't give you access to any of my classes. Those are just the tools. But in any case, at Warrior, you could subscribe and you could do the 14-day trial. And then during my trading summit next week, where I'll be trading side by side in the same room with several of my students, you'd be able to watch the whole thing. I'll stream like 30 minutes of it on YouTube, maybe a little longer, but most of it will be reserved for Warrior Pro members. So you could check out the 14-day Pro Preview trial if you want. But of course, tune in tomorrow morning. I'll be streaming right around 9 a.m. until probably about 9:30. And hopefully we have a nice gap scanner. But regardless of the gap scan this week, what'll be most exciting will be having a nice group of traders in the house, in the office that we can talk with, and you just have some great conversations about trading, and you guys get to attend virtually tuning in. All right, so thank you guys, as always, for being here. Reminder, as always, trading is risky. My results are not typical, and there is no guarantee that you'll find success, whether you trade with me or you learn on your own. So take it slow. I'll be back here first thing tomorrow morning, and I hope to see you guys bright and early. Thanks for hitting the thumbs up. Thanks for being subscribed to the channel, and I'll see you tomorrow morning for the morning show. All right, see you then.